Welcome to this episode of Ask A Neurologist podcast. My name is Rabea Akram. I'm a medical doctor, entrepreneur, and your host of the Ask A Neurologist podcast. It's a wonderful sunny day here in Munich, and today I have here joining me over the internet a very special guest. She's also a medical doctor. She's also an internet sensation with thousands of fans, thousands of raving fans across the different social media platforms. She's author of a book, of a newly released book called Ayurveda for Life, and she's also a life coach and also an entrepreneur herself. So welcome to the Ask A Neurologist podcast, Dr. Jana Scharfenberg.
Thank you so much for inviting me. And if you say it, it sounds very impressive. So thank you for summing that up.
Absolutely, Jana. So I'm super excited to have you here today because you're a super interesting person doing great work with your expertise, which is, you have several expertise, but one of them, which is very popular among all of your fans, is Ayurveda and the Ayurveda lifestyle, right?
Yes. I would say Ayurveda is like the basic foundation of most of my work.
Okay, amazing. So you have such an interesting profile with so many different kinds of works. Can you maybe start by telling us a little bit about your work, what you're doing?
Yes, of course. As you already said, I'm a medical doctor, so I have a very classical scientific background. I went to med school in Germany and I really enjoyed studying medicine, working as a medical doctor. But I could find the more I was evolving in my own work that there are just a lot of questions my patients ask and I ask myself around health and preventive healthcare and how we can live a happy and fulfilled life, where I just couldn't find the answer in our scientific medical system. And this brought me to Ayurveda. I was practicing yoga myself for years, and through yoga I discovered the science of the traditional Indian medicine, which is Ayurveda, and there I was totally fascinated about it because there are just so many things, rituals, recommendations, healthy habits we can adapt to our own modern life so that we all can stay healthy. And through that I found, wow, if we combine the medicine we practice in Europe or Germany and bring in or blend in the Ayurvedic point of view, then we get a really powerful thing going on, and everybody can benefit so much from that for their own health.
That sounds absolutely fascinating, Jana. So maybe for those of who are not so familiar with the work of Ayurveda, can you explain in very simple terms, is it a lifestyle? Is it a particular kind of therapy? What is actually Ayurveda?
As you said before, Ayurveda is getting pretty popular right now in Europe, but we only, in my opinion, see a little fraction of it. So if you talk about Ayurveda on the street, most people will link it to oily massages or a kind of wellness treatment or, very fancy Indian cuisine, but that's not what Ayurveda initially is. Ayurveda, if you look at the word, it's a Sanskrit word, so the old Indian language, and if you translate it, it means the science of life or the knowledge of life. And so we are looking at a whole philosophy of how we can live our life. So it's not only, a medical system or a food or diet system. It's really how we can live our whole life balanced to our unique needs and in tune with nature. So I would say Ayurveda is having different components. It's having the medical part where we also can find surgery and things like that. But it's also about a preventive lifestyle. How can I nurture myself? What can I eat? When should I eat that? How can I create my daily habits that, that I have energy, that I feel healthy and that I have enough power to go through the day. But it's also looking at other things like how is my social life? How is my work life? Am I happy?
Right.
So it's going far beyond these things. And if you would travel to India and ask people there what Ayurveda is, they would also bring astrology and all these kind of more spiritual things into the Ayurvedic game.
Right, right. Wow, that's really very interesting. So tell us, maybe from your work, for people who are super under stress, because most people these days are super under stress, and most people these days don't have enough time for themselves to practice any kind of real relaxation on a daily basis. So how do you incorporate Ayurveda in this kind of a lifestyle?
You're absolutely right. I see that with all my clients. We on such a high stress level, so we are always on fire.
Right.
If we look in Ayurveda, there we use the natural elements a lot to describe the world and things that are going on in our body. So if we are a lot in stress, we have a lot of fire and air going on. And if you just look at a fire and you put air to it, the fire just gets bigger. So we are just rushing and running, and the fire, the heat is going on, and we can all imagine if there's always heat, but we never put any wood or earth inside to calm it down. At some point we will be burned out. There will be nothing left. So this is how we in Ayurveda would describe stress and burnout, a very fiery and airy state of being. So what do we need when we look through the Ayurvedic lens? We would need something that's grounding, that's nourishing, that's earthy. So everything that we can link to the earth element, whatever that means to each and every one of us, this is what we need. For some people that means, okay, I need to move. For others that means I need to rest. For the next person that means I need to I need to rest my mind through meditation and things like that. And as you said before, most of us are having the point of view, I just don't have the time for that. I have so many demands in my life that I can just not squeeze it in. But the big art, I would say, is to kind of turn it around and say, okay, this is what I have to do first to be able to meet the other needs my life is providing me with. And Ayurveda is helping you to create these daily, just tiny, small rituals, which are not needing that much time. I don't have to sit down for an hour to meditate. I don't have to be in the kitchen for 2 hours every day to cook freshly. But what are the small things I can use for my life I have here in the Western world, like just a few minutes of meditation, or even you when you're in the hospital working with your patients. Where can I, just take a moment and take a few deep breaths to calm down and to ground myself? So it's all about the awareness and the small rituals I can bring into my life, that they get kind of automated, that I don't have to think about, oh, shall I do this or not? That it's we have to create it in a way that it's like brushing our teeth. We're not thinking about brushing our teeth. We just get up in the morning and do it. And that's what we should do with small, healthy rituals every day as well.
Wow, that's very, 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 a very good practical tip. Absolutely. So if there was one thing, one tip that you would think that would help most people from the work that you do, what would that be?
Even if it's not the fanciest tip, I would say it's breathing deep.
Okay.
And breathing with a lot of awareness. This is something, breath work is actually a big part in the Ayurvedic science. So taking a few deep breaths, because that's really calming down your nervous system. And if I can squeeze in another tiny tip, this would be drinking enough water during the day and focusing on warm water, because that's really helping your whole digestion to really improve, to get better. And maybe your listeners know that when we're under a stress, the digestion cannot really function. So this is something how we can really, and it's a very simple thing, support our belly with working better. I would say these two tips are, if you just do these, you do a lot.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's super interesting to know. You say warm water, so is it like, it's new for me because I usually drink cool water, especially in summer, right? When you say warm water, how does that help better than regular water, and how warm does the water have to be?
Very good questions. So first of all, in Ayurveda, we focus on drinking or eating the food or the fluids warm, at least lukewarm, or as warm as the room is. So not ice cold, because you have to imagine everything we put in our body needs to be heated up to a certain temperature, so that the enzymes and all the fluids we have in our stomach, that they can really help digest the things. So every time we put something ice cold inside, our body really needs energy to warm it up, and it's like a shock. Our tummy just gets something ice cold. It's warm inside ourselves. So there's this big difference. And if we focus more on warm things, we really support our stomach with going to the next step and working better. In Ayurveda, we call this that we have an Agni, a fire, a digestive fire in our belly. And if we always put something ice cold on it, it cannot really lit up and work properly. So how warm should the water be? You said a very good point. Oh, in summer, I prefer cold water. And that's very easy to explain from the point of Ayurveda, because in summer we have the fire season. And of course there we are like already very fiery, and we need something to cool down a little bit. So in summer, I would say you can focus on water which is just normal temperature. And in winter and spring, you can heat the water up. You can boil it in the morning, put it in a how do you call these bottles which keep everything warm?
A thermos bottle, right?
Yeah, you can just put it inside and sip it during the day, so that it's, I would say, lukewarm to as hot as you can still drink it.
Okay. That's an amazing tip. Perfect. So I wanna know more about the other stuff you're doing. You're also very involved in coaching people, giving seminars and talks and workshops. So tell us maybe a little bit more about your other activities.
So I would say my daily work is combined with a few different pillars. So I have my one-on-one clients, which I really support in health coaching. I use the conventional medicine, I use Ayurveda, I use other natural traditions for that, and coach them how to stay healthy. So it's not like the traditional doctor's work where I'm saying, okay, you have to do this and this and that. It's more that I'm supporting them to develop their own kind of health. Then I also work in corporate health. I support different companies. I live in Zurich, Switzerland. I work with different companies there to see how the staff, all the employees can stay healthy. And the other thing I do, I also educate medical doctors, health coaches, therapists, yoga teachers in Ayurveda, so that they can apply this tradition to their own work and spread the word of Ayurveda. I do that, and I also help them grow a sustainable health business. And the other thing I'm doing, that's a bit new, but I really, really find a passion for that. I focus more and more on how medical doctors can stay healthy, how they can live mindful and healthy, because as we all know, doctors have a very stressful job. It's very demanding. I don't have to tell you anything about that. You know that yourself. But this is something I focus a bit more on the side too, how we as healthcare providers can also support our own health. Yeah, I do that online and offline. So I have a mix. And even if people don't live in Zurich, they can still reach out via the internet and connect, come in one of my courses, or just get an inspiration through social media, where I also try to share as much information as possible for free.
Right, absolutely. So how this is your work, your life, it is so fascinating. And also, in a way, when we finish medical school, usually we go into some specialties. Some of us stay in a clinical job for, say, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and some of them go to private practice, and some decide to stay in the clinic. But what you have done pretty much is something quite unconventional, but also very, very interesting, and something from which all of us can learn. It's a way you have set your own path, and you are very successful in it. And it is something I absolutely admire and I find it fascinating. And maybe you can tell us a little bit about the history or the background, how you got into this really interesting journey.
First of all, thank you. Yeah, it was a very interesting way. And in hindsight, of course, it always sounds very easy. But let me tell you, there were times where it was not.
Right.
But for me, the journey was I applied to medical school, to med school, because my aim or my passion was to teach people how to live healthy. Okay. And in my very young age, I was like, oh, a doctor is doing that. So great. Yeah, I want to choose that profession. And I really enjoyed being at med school, but the more I proceeded during the years of studying, the more I got in the actual work you do at the hospital, I was finding two things that were really disturbing to me. One point was like, oh, I'm not really teaching patients how they can stay healthy.
Right.
Some of them, I have to be honest, are also not interested in that. Most people are, I mean, we have to see both sides here, right? Most people say, I go to the doctor, I want to have my medication, and that's it.
And that's it, right.
So that's a point, I mean, we just have to look at it too. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I don't really have the chance to teach people the way I want to teach them.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, the way medical doctors work today is just so demanding and so influenced from the outside with all these 24-hour shifts, long hours, the pressure from the healthcare system and all these kind of things. Mm-hmm. And that brought me to a point where I was like, okay, the work itself is not really fulfilling for me.
Yes.
And also the circumstances, how I am supposed to do the work, are also not fitting my needs. So what am I actually doing here?
Right.
And, then there was for me this kind of point where I was like, that's interesting. I definitely don't want to work like this. So I have a few options here now. I can stick with it and complain the whole time. No, that's not an option. I can, stop med school, find another career path.
Right.
Possible, but I still like what I learn in med school.
Absolutely.
Or the third part. Yeah, because, the content we're learning there and everything about the human body is super fascinating.
Yes.
And the third option was like, okay, I will go through with that, and then I will find something, or I create my own kind of thing.
Right.
And that was like, that's interesting, but what could I create, You're an entrepreneur yourself. It's not like we wake up in the morning like, boom, this is what I will do for the next 10 years.
Yes,
we have an idea, we start with it, it evolves, and maybe we choose this one direction or the other. And it was the same for me. I started with teaching yoga, then I got into Ayurveda. I studied Ayurveda, got super excited about that. And from there, I started teaching people one-on-one clients a lot in Zurich. From there, I was building up my educational online system, and it just evolved over the time. And in the beginning, I was a one-woman show sitting in front of the computer, like, interesting. How can I create a website? How is this all working?
Yeah.
How can I use Facebook? And now, after a few years, I have a team.
Yeah.
I lead my team. We have different things we're doing, and I can just really feel the impact we are doing and how it's inspiring other people. But it was a hard way. It still sometimes is, but it's my way, I would say. And I'm super, super grateful that I just, followed my inner calling and was like, okay, I just finished med school. I will find something I can do. I don't know yet what it is, but it will show up.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's a fascinating story. It's really inspiring. Love that story. Absolutely love it. So, there are so many things I want to ask you in follow-up to some of the stuff you said, but we will do it step by step. Let me start by asking you how you said that in the clinical setting, where I will ask you a little bit about our profession as well. You said doctors, when you yourself have been involved in the clinic, you see doctors doing 24-hour shifts and being overworked, and this is something we know, it's very common. So in that context, sometimes when you're working so hard and the job is so stressful, you just want to come back home and fall into the bed and get up the next morning and go back to work. This is something which I have seen in my friends, in my colleagues, over and over, people going through the same cycle. So give us an Ayurvedic, or from your field of work, a tip for doctors or other healthcare professionals, nurses. They're just as stressed, right? Something specific for us that would help us to overcome all that struggle.
I mean, that's a very complex topic, right?
Right.
Because we know how stressful it is, and also the mental load dealing with all patients and their stories, and knowing how much pressure we have, and also how much responsibility can really be hard on us. And I also know that feeling of rushing around and then just crashing on the couch. So what can we do here? I mean, first of all, I think, something from the inside is like, is that what I really want to do? I have the feeling so many people just do the job because, oh, I went to med school so long, I'm supposed to do that. It's society is talking very good of doctors, and I like that. I like my status. This is why I'm doing that. Or also this kind of thought, oh, I just do that for 10 years and then everything will get better. So just reflect on yourself. Is that really what you want to do? And I know that there are so many doctors who really absolutely love what they do. And I think they have more stamina going through with that. But I also think there are so many people saying, that's just what I'm supposed to do, and this is what society wants me to do. So really, really take a absolutely honest look at yourself. Is that what you want to do? There are so many other options what you can do if you're really unhappy. But if you decide, yes, that's my world and I want to do that, which is absolutely amazing, and then I think you have to see, okay, how can I create my work surrounding that it fits me better? Do I really have to be at the biggest hospital, where it's all about career and working, hustling? Or is a smaller hospital maybe also nice, where their work circumstances are different? So choose your surrounding wisely. And then when it comes to Ayurveda, I think it's all about preparation, that when okay, I have a 24-hour shift, that you make sure that you have good food with you, that you stay nourished, that you drink, that you take your breaks, even if the ER room is full and all the nurses are calling you the whole time, because there is just so many things you have to do and you're all by yourself in your shift. Really, really look after yourself, because if you're not able to function, the whole system cannot function. And I think even if that's not 100% Ayurvedic, I think it's so important that every other thing you can kind of delegate from your life, do that. You don't have to come home, crash on the couch and feel bad because the fridge is not full, the apartment is not cleaned, and all these kind of things. Just get the help you would need around that. You're doing a very responsible and super demanding job, so you don't have to do all the other tasks by yourself too. I think even if it's not 100% Ayurvedic, take good care of yourself.
It's a good one. Yes, absolutely. That would be super helpful for so many people, I think. It's a very, very good advice. So you said you also train healthcare professionals who want to evolve in the field of Ayurveda or the kind of medicine that you're doing. So what's the best way if somebody decides, a doctor or a nurse or a healthcare practitioner decides to take that path, what's the best way to go about it?
So if somebody's interested in Ayurveda, and I think every health professional can enrich their own way of working and personal being through Ayurveda, I'm just 100% sure of that. I myself offer a 1-year-long training, which is online. So it's also fitting the needs of health professionals, because probably you as a very busy person are not having the time to always travel to Zurich to meet me in person for all our courses and classes. So everything is online. Everything can be practiced in the own time and pace the people need. So that's something I really focus on. And for me, it's very important that people learn not only how to put it to their professional life, but also how they can adapt to their personal life. so that they can really live Ayurveda. And if somebody's interested in that, please just have a look at my homepage. There's so many information. And what's very important for me, of course, I offer a training, but I also know a lot of other trainings which are very good. And my team and I, we offer information calls. So if anybody is interested about that, they can just hop on a call with my assistant and they talk about if that's a good program or not. And if not, we also know so many different other trainings we can recommend then, so that for us it's more about, every health professional who knows about Ayurveda is a win for us. If they are trained with us or not doesn't really matter in the end, but spread the word of Ayurveda. That's what it's all about.
Okay. All right. That's gonna be super interesting for people who are thinking to go that path and learn this amazing art of living. So apart from that, we will come back a little bit to Ayurveda itself. And you say that Ayurveda would be about an entire lifestyle of philosophy and way of living, basically. So what are the most basic, I would say, pillars of Ayurveda? One could be yoga, meditation, diet, and maybe you could tell a little more about the different aspects of Ayurveda?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So if we really look at the core of Ayurveda, it's all about how I, as an individual, can live in my own rhythm and in the rhythm of nature. Mm-hmm. And for that, Ayurveda really looks what's happening in nature. And we find different elements outside. So for example, earth, fire, water, space, and air. Mm-hmm. These are the 5 elements we use in Ayurveda to kind of basically explain everything. Okay. And from these 5 elements, we create 3 doshas. These are energies we all carry in us. Mm-hmm. For example, water and earth, they are creating the kapha dosha, so a very earthy dosha. We can find that in ourselves with everything we can touch, our bones, our muscles, every kind of tissue. We can also find that in our brain. So when we create routines and habits, this is also something that is grounding, very earthy, very kapha dosha. Then we have pitta. Pitta is mainly made of fire, so everything that's transforming the metabolism, also our mental metabolism. So when we take something in from the outside and create something in our brain, something new out of it, you know more about that than me. But this is very fiery, and we have that in our body. And then we have the vata dosha, which is air and space. So that's very it's the movement, it's the energy of movement, and we need that. So the whole nervous system and everything like that is very much linked to the vata dosha. When we're very creative, very flexible in our mind, maybe also a little bit hectic, this means we have a lot of vata energy in us. And each and every person is a very individual mix of these 3 doshas. So it could be that I'm a bit more an earthy person, or a fiery person, or an airy person. Okay. And depending on that, I have to see, what do I need? Me, for example, I contain a lot of air. I could run around and have creative ideas all day, but it's hard for me to really bring them to life. So what do I need? I need to ground myself, and I can do that through very nourishing food, through meditation, and through very recharging yoga practice, for example. If you are, for example, a very earthy person and you love your routines and you're very laid back and the pace is not that high, you maybe need things that activate you, like spices like pepper or chili, things like that in your food. You need a workout routine which is really activating your metabolism, your fire. So Ayurveda looks into that with every person. There are different tests and things you can do with your Ayurvedic doctor, but when you're hearing that right now, I would say most of you have an idea right away if you're more connected to fire, earth, or air, and there you can see, what do I need to balance myself out? And then it comes to the different layers. Do I need a workout routine which is grounding me? Do I need something that's activating me? What about my meditation? Can I sit down and close my eyes and meditate, or do I fall asleep? If I fall asleep, maybe I need something else. If it's really crazy for me to sit down and meditate because my thoughts are just running around in my head, maybe I need something I can focus on. For example, a candle I can look at.
Right.
Same with nutrition. Do I need lightness? Do I need richness? Do I need something that's cooling me or that's warming me? So I would say, as you said before, movement, nutrition, meditation are very important things. And also, how can I create my life around that? Am I somebody who just needs quiet time in the evening to really be able to calm down? Or do I need to push myself to get out of my routines and do maybe something new every day? Yes. So really look into what you need and how you can bring that into your daily life. I hope that's answering your question.
That's absolutely, that's very, very, very interesting to know. And maybe on a last note, you could tell our listeners, how do people are in so many ways stuck in their old lifestyle habits. They cannot get out of certain lifestyle habits and keep procrastinating. Everybody has their own challenges in life. Give us one tip to sort of come out of all that and to attain a new sort of lifestyle because of maybe because of goals that people have set or improvements they want to make in their own lives. How to take that first step towards it?
That's a very good question, because I think that's the number one obstacle, because why so many people are stuck in their daily life and don't feel happy,
right,
because they are not able to create a sustainable change. The first thing I would say is that we really have to acknowledge that if we're in a routine or if we're in our current state, our whole body, our whole mind, doesn't really prefer to change, because that would mean going out of the comfort zone. So if we acknowledge for ourselves change, we will never feel like a change. Yeah, because so many people say, yeah, today I don't feel like going for a run. I will start once I feel like that. So get the idea out of your head that you ever will feel like that. You will feel good after you have done it, but you will never get to the point like, oh, today I feel like eating healthy. So don't wait for feeling good. Do the action so that you can feel good. That's a very important point for me. And the second thing is, most of the people have so many ideas what they want to change. Just think, when the new year begins, everybody's having so many resolutions for the new year. It's a whole list, and then we end up doing nothing because it's overwhelming. So get out of the overwhelming thinking and just pick one thing. Just start with one tiny thing. You're thinking about getting more healthy through changing your diet. Just start by adding warm water in your daily habits. And once this is a real habit for you that you just do without thinking about it, then you can move on to getting more vegetables in your food, or cooking more by yourself. So choose one thing, think about that it will never feel comfortable to change. Just stick with that, just this one tiny thing, and then add something on it. And the one thing you choose first, see that it's something simple and that it's something that that's not hard for you. For example, if I have often clients who say, I want to change my diet, and we look into, what they're eating, and they're like, oh my God, I don't want to stop my coffee, my 5 cups of coffee. That's horrible for me. I don't want to do that. They really cling on that. And I'm like, okay, coffee stays. What are other things you can do? When the person says, oh, I eat so much meat, but actually I don't even enjoy it, I just eat it. They're like, okay, start with the meat.
Okay.
And then go on to something else. So trick your brain a little bit into doing it.
Okay, that's amazing. It was a great talk with having great conversation with you, Jana. I absolutely enjoyed it. I'm sure everybody who will be listening to it can have lots of information and lots of new ideas out of your experiences. It was absolutely lovely having you here. We would definitely love to have a follow-up discussion with you on this.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It was a pleasure being here, and I cannot wait to see you in person in Munich, hopefully soon.
Absolutely. We will definitely do that. Thank you, Jana. So that was Dr. Jana Scharfenberg. She's an Ayurveda expert, a medical doctor, and she was amazing today in her talk, giving us lots of useful tips and advices. Thank you for watching this episode of Ask a Neurologist. I will see you in the next episode. Thank you.